Hey guys, today I am making a video talking about all of my old stories that I got for you. And I hope you guys are doing good. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let's get started. So basically this video is going to be a bunch of my old stories, and I'm going to tell you one of them I actually told my dearest best friend, Hannah. Hannah. So, this story is pretty cool. Okay, so I had three main friends back then: Jared Canada, Laura Dickerson, and River. Now, all three of us were always getting up to mischief. We were always getting into all kinds of crazy stuff, and it was so awesome. So, Jared sat there one day. He always woke us up early. Like, he was waking us up at like 10 a.m., 10 o'clock in the morning. Always waking us up very, very early. He would knock on Laura's door first, and then he would knock on my door, and then we would get up River last. So we all knocked on each other's doors throughout the entire summer. Or if it was spring break, or we had a day off school because of snow. Well, one day we sat there and we actually came up with a game. And this game was really cool. It was actually called Dirty Snow. Now, you're probably like, Cripple Slayer, why Dirty Snow? Well, the reason why it was called Dirty Snow is because, well, you might have gathered, but there was mud with the snow. And what was cool about it is Jared was like the captain of every game that he created, and no one else ever became captain. It was always him because he was the eldest, and you know, he actually did a really good job of being captain. And if he ever sees this video, he was a really good friend, and I want him to know that. I still follow him to this day on Instagram. He's a really cool guy. I like his posts. He's got really cool posts of him in Colorado. And basically, he came up with a game called Dirty Snow. And this is how the game goes. So the game goes, it was like a snowball fight, but with dirty snow, with mud mixed into the snow. And basically, he said for us to do this. He said, "All right, guys, I want you to get one handful of mud, and then I want you to get another handful of snow. Mix that together and squish that together." And he said, "Once you've done that and you make a couple of those snowballs, I want you to pick a base." And he's actually pretty clever when he came up with games, I'm not gonna lie. He said, "I want you to pick a base." So he was like, "Devin, what base are you picking?" And there is a blue dolphin across the road from me, and I said, "Oh, I'll pick that as my base." Because everybody had their base to protect themselves, so when there was the snowball fight happening and the game was starting, we had to hide behind cover if we had a snowball thrown at us. So we had to sit there and we had to duck and hide. But here's the thing. Here's the clever part of the game. If the muddy snowball touched you even once, you're out of the entire game. You're out of the game actually for 2 games. You couldn't be in the match for 2 games, and then after the 2 games, and if there was a third game, you could be in the third game of Dirty Snow. And it was such a blast because one of the times he threw a snowball that had mud on it, and it went down my shirt, and it just looked like ice cream went down my front of my shirt. So, anyway, everybody was trying to take me out, and they kept throwing snowballs at the blue whale, at the rocking toy blue whale. And here's the clever part as well. not only were you out for 2 games if the dirty snow hit you, but if the dirty snow hit your base, so let's say someone threw a dirty snowball at my blue whale, I would have to have 5 seconds, because he said, alright guys, so the rule of the game is you have to give a person 5 seconds to pick another base. So if the dirty snow even touched it by a hair, you had to pick another base and hide behind that new base that you picked because the dirty snow touched your old base. And that's how the game was. And it was very fun because everyone was throwing it at each other's bases, and we had to keep watching and swapping. Sorry, I got a little bit tongue-tied there. Swapping and switching places. And so that's basically what we had to do, and it was very fun. It was really, really fun. Dirty Snow. I really wish I could play that game again because it was really good. But I went from, this is how one game went. So basically, Jared threw a dirty snowball at my dolphin, right? He hit the dolphin, and it had a head on it back then, so it wasn't, there was no head on it, because like it got old and it kind of decomposed off after a while. They still had to replace that. But anyway, so I hit the dolphin, and I had to choose my base. So you had to have 5 seconds to look around to see what base you wanted to have next to have cover on. And basically, I chose a tree right next to the dolphin. And I chose that tree. And I went behind the tree, and I hid behind it. And obviously, the tree was big. Like, it was a thick tree. And someone threw a dirty snowball. I think it was Brianna. She threw a dirty snowball, and she was giggling. She was like, haha, I took your tree out. You got no base now to hide behind. And I was like, aha, very funny. I'm going to take out your picnic table, Jared. And then Brianna had a lamppost. And I was like, haha, I'm going to take out your lamppost, Brianna. And then we were just chucking a bunch of dirty snowballs at each other. But it was a clever game he came up with. And then that was one old story that I have. I hope you guys like that one. And I'm going to be doing more. So here we go. Just get comfortable. Make yourself a snack if you have to. I'll pause it for 5 seconds. It's been 5 seconds. Alright. Next story. I'll do it. Each story I'll do this. I'm going to be thinking about space, dolphins flying up in space. Anyway, so basically that was the first story. Another story I have was absolutely insane. Right? We sat there and we actually sat there, and this was quite fun. Well, you know regular tag? Well, we actually played that. But here's the thing. There was only one tree to get to. And if you didn't make it to the tree because you got tagged or you ran out of time, you were out of the game. So basically, this is how this game was. So I got a lot of game stories, but basically, Jared said, right, there was this big oak tree in the back of this one person's backyard, but they didn't mind because they knew that kids played around it and they knew we always did games. So they let us borrow the big oak tree. So anyway, so he sits there and he goes, guys, I got a game that we can play. And I go, oh yeah, what's that? So we all do crisscross applesauce and we sit in the grass and he tells us what is going to be the game. So basically, the game goes like this. So he said, you see that big oak tree right there? And we were like, yeah. He went, okay, so that big oak tree, you gotta take your shoes and socks off for this. And everyone was like, what? And he was like, yeah. And I know it's muddy, but you're gonna get muddy feet anyway. So just go ahead. Anyway, he said, I want you to run as fast as you can to the big oak tree. And if you get tagged, you're out. And that's the only base that is safe, is the big oak tree. So if you're near the big oak tree and you touch the sidewalk and you're just like, oh no, I give up, time out. No, that doesn't work. It has to be the big oak tree. Or if you're caught cheating and you're still wearing shoes and your socks, you're automatically out of the game as well. So no shoes or socks on. But we will do a version where we do the same thing, but you have your shoes and socks on. And basically, we had our shoes and socks off. Oh my god, our mothers killed us because we had no way to clean off the mud off of the bottom of our feet. And we had literally muddy socks and muddy shoes. And every mother that literally knew that we was playing this game, basically told us off, basically. So, anyway, they were like, you tracking mud into my house? What? So, basically, that's what it was. And, anyway, so, I took my shoes and socks off. Laura took off her shoes and socks. And River took off his shoes and socks. And his little cousin Zeke was there, so he took his shoes and socks off too. And his little baby brother Colton, he took his shoes and socks off too. So anyway, we all go there, and he goes, I'll give you because it was a good distance, right? He said, I'll give you a 15-minute head start to run. And then after 15 seconds were up, he was starting to chase us. And everybody got to the tree. Because this was just a trial run for the game. He was like, no. I'm not even going to give you a head start. Because I feel like giving you a head start is too easy. I'm not going to give you a head start. As soon as a new game starts. Because here was the plan. Because we had to keep running back and forth, right? And the reason why I say we were running back and forth is because some people tried this. They tried to have their hand on the tree like this. And they were like, you can't get me, Jared. And they would try it when a new game would start. And they would still have their hand on the big oak tree. And Jared's like, no, that's cheating. Do not do that. Do not have your hand on the big oak tree when a new game starts, or you won't play at all. And that's basically how it was. And that's fair in my book, you know. And there was that. And then I was sitting there, and I was running, and I don't know how he got up to me so much. I said, I bet you ate ramen noodles before chasing me. Yeah, he said, yeah, and I got a lot of energy. I'm going after you. And he started chasing after me because he had a pack of ramen. He had a pack of his mom's beef ramen, and then he was chasing after me after he had his mom's beef ramen. And he was like, I'm coming after you, Dev. I'm coming after you. And he was like running towards me. And I was running as fast as I could to touch the oak tree. And literally, my fingertips, like my actual fingertips, touched the oak tree like this. And I was like, ha, Jared, see? I got my fingertips. See? I know it's not my whole hand, but see? You're right next to me, next to the big oak tree. And you can't get me, see? Ha. And he was like, watch you. And then River was running around like a chicken. Like, for the tree. Oh, God. But he was running around the tree as fast as he could. And in flip-flops at one point, because we were wearing shoes at one point. but he kept doing the same thing in each game. But anyway, he was running, like this particular one was barefoot. And we were running around and running around this big oak tree. And he said, new rule, no running around the oak tree. And that's all you run around. You gotta run other places as well. So it will be fair for me to catch you. Because eventually, I will catch you. And he was basically telling us all that. And yeah. So basically, that's one of the stories that happened. And at one point, he was chasing after me, and he was chasing at basically all three of us at the same time, right? And he was chasing me, River, and Laura at the same time, and all three of us went boop, and we all three face planted into the dirt in front of the big oak tree. And then he's got his hands on his hips looking down on us like, yeah, that's what I thought. And then he goes, tag, tag, tag. All of you are out. And he took us all out. So that was one of the stories. So I'm going to give you another 5 seconds. Right. 5 seconds are up. Next story. Hope you had a bathroom break. Alright. So, the next story I got. It's pretty cool. Now, this is actually not from my childhood. It's actually my early stages of my adulthood, which was actually quite recently. Actually, this year, actually. Now, I don't know how many of you believe in ghosts, but I want to tell you this story because, now, it could be just superstition, but I thought it was a cool story, so, you can ask me questions in the comments down below. I'll be happy to answer any of them, but it might be just because I'm always trying to think of other ways to be interesting, but I'm going to tell you the story anyway because it was interesting to me. So, a couple months back, my pet lizard Oswin died. Well, his terrarium is still set up in my bedroom. It's still there. And it has a little temperature gauge, and it's literally stuck adhesively on the side of my terrarium for Oswin. Well, get this, ever since Oswin died, this is just a theory. This is not like, oh, I know for sure. But, this is just a theory. I think Oswin's ghost is with me. And the reason why I think that is because ever since he died, now this could just be me or whatever, but ever since he died, the temperature gauge has never dropped. It's always stayed at a good 75 degrees. It never dropped. The power went out one time, right? It didn't drop a single degree. And I thought, weird. Anyway, that's what it was, and it never dropped. So, I don't know. It's quite cool to think one of your pets is a ghost. So, anyway, it's just a little thought. And that was a little story that I have for you. I'll give you another 5 seconds, so. Okay, so here's the next story. And this will be the final story for this video. I'm going to do a part 2. Part 2 coming up. Part 2. It's coming up soon, guys. Homies, it's coming up. So, anyway, here's the last final story for this video. So, basically, this is how one story went. Okay, so this was when I was a little kid, right? Okay. So, I was a little kid, and this was actually a really cool story. I sat there, and I actually was little. I think I was like 4 years old, I went with Mum and Dad to, I think, some type of farm or somewhere, and I rode my very first horse. And I had my little white cap, like baseball cap, like ball cap, hat on. I wore a little blue t-shirt. I had some shorts on. I looked pretty cool. I looked pretty cool. For a little kid, I looked pretty cool. So, anyway, and it was a chocolate brown horse, and I rode that thing for 2 hours. Because I literally looked at Mum and I said, Mum, I don't want to get off this horse. And she said, oh, okay, that's cool. So, anyway, basically, I rode that horse for 2 hours. The guy that owned the chocolate brown horse, we was actually in a little field, and it was like a red fence that was literally just like a pen fence that was red, and he let me ride it around in the red pin fence for 2 hours. And yeah, and I couldn't stop smiling when I was about to hop on the horse and when I got off the horse. And then when I was in the car ride home, I was still smiling, Mum said. But anyway, that is pretty much it. Those are all my stories for today's video. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please drop a big old like on it. A big old blue like. And I will catch you guys later. Comment if you have any questions about anything. And like I said, about the Oswin story, it's just a theory, okay? It's just a theory. I don't actually know for certain if that actually is the truth, but it's cool to think about that my ghost is a pet roaming in my room. So, anyway, that's the story I got for you for tonight. All the stories that I got for you tonight. I will do a part 2 probably here coming next week or next coming month. So I'll catch you guys later. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Catch you guys later. Peace out and creep it out. And this has been Creep On Slayer. Thank you for watching the video. Goodbye and creep it out.